former NBA player with the Sixers. Now he's a part of the Sixers pre- and post-game live team. You've heard him plenty on our show talking NBA hoops with us. Marc Jackson is with us as the Celtics advanced last night with maybe, if you had to pick a guy out of a lineup to say who was going to carry them in the fourth, where would Olynyk fall on that list?
Olynyk would have fallen maybe third or fourth behind IT, Crowder, and some other guys, and Marcus Smart. But he stepped up to the plate. Boy, did he come through. That was a great game. They needed somebody else other than IT to do it for him, and he was the guy. I'm quite sure Washington didn't have Kilio on the top of their board as a guy to stop for Game 7.
No, his 26 points tie for the third most by a bench player. That was a big factor in the game last night, Mark. The Wizards bench, you might as well have been sitting on their bench last night. Nobody contributed. They could have called on you for some points.
Hey, I think I still could have given him 10 and 8 if the game was half-court.
And 10 might have been the difference. That at least would have got the game to overtime.
Exactly. Yeah, their bench didn't come through. It was a difficult game to watch. The human highlight reel for the human fast break. John Wall, didn't shoot the ball particularly well, and Bradley Beal was just an incredible kind of player. But they in Top not having a great game. They needed some help bad. And people say about the starters, what the superstars in each team could do. But that's why you have more than 5 guys on a roster. Somebody else needed to step through for Washington, and they didn't, and it cost them Game 7.
Well, John Wall had a great Game 6. He kind of faded 18 points, but he didn't score over the final 19 minutes of the game. His last points, Mark, came at 7:03 of the third. He missed 11 straight. So do you view Wall any differently after last night, or just had a bad night to have a bad night?
Had a bad night to have a bad night. Fatigue could have played some part of it, though, because believe it or not, I think they had some open shots, that some didn't go. It could have been legs. When you're guarding on the other end, and as well as your team needs you to score, when you can have a couple of plays off on the offensive end because you got other guys clicking for you. Unfortunately for them, it just didn't work. It just didn't work for them because they needed help and they just didn't get it. But let's give it to credit where it's due. Kelly O and the Boston Celtics came through and played tremendous in order to win that game.
We see that a lot in the playoffs, Mark, where an unsung hero steps up. How many big shot Bob shots from Robert Horry, where there's that guy that steps up and kind of has that night for them. So he 14 points, 26 career high there. Can they take that at all and carry that into this? They're getting right back at it tomorrow night against Cleveland. How do they match up after that performance against the Cavs?
That was a tough fourth series. It went 7 games. Cleveland been sitting home, mini vacation, getting some alternate conditioning work in to stay ready, stay fresh. Boston has an advantage of coming off a big game, a Game 7, so they should all be clicking on all cylinders. It's going to take a couple of quarters or a couple of minutes for the Cleveland Cavaliers to really get going, to get their rhythm back, their game legs back, because, they've been sitting home resting for so long. You can do a lot of different conditioning, but you also got to keep in mind you don't want to force injury upon guys. So I think Boston actually has an edge. I think if they can steal a game, it'll be Game 1, playing against Cleveland Cavaliers. How do they match up? You can say all you want with the X's and O's or what player can do this, but you got to think about this. Cleveland Cavaliers have LeBron James. You can game plan, you can do it all you want, but it's hard to game plan for the most unstoppable force, and maybe go down as one of the most unstoppable forces in the history of the NBA. LeBron James, he's bigger, faster, stronger than ever before. So whatever game plan you might need to put all 5 guys on him, and hopefully some of these other professional guys that miss a layup here and there.
Marc Jackson with us. And, Mark, one fact people might be overlooking, Boston has the home court advantage here in this series. People might be overlooking Boston as the number 1 seed. Should they? And do you give Boston a shot in the series?
Respectfully, Boston has finished the season as the number 1 seed. Do I give them a shot? Yes. It's like any competition. You respect your opponent. You give everybody a shot. But Cleveland seemed to have hit the switch. And while Cleveland's hit the switch, Boston still doesn't have, I hate to say it again, LeBron James. So as long as LeBron James is on the court, it's going to be hard for Boston to win this series, let alone I think if they got an opportunity to steal one. Even though they're home, when I say steal one, people say, well, they're the home advantage. Yes, they have the home advantage, but when you have a team that's working on all cylinders, you have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson and Batten, J.R. Smith, Shumpert. Well, you have these guys coming and clicking, on all cylinders. You may be the home team, but deep down inside, I think Cleveland's capable of winning any place at any time, whether on home, whether away, whether on neutral site, whether in the schoolyard playing on cold, barefooted. I think Cleveland is the most powerful team in the Eastern Conference right now.
Hey, Mark, Mike and I talked a lot before you came on about where Washington goes from here. Do you think the Wizards hit their ceiling, or is that still a team on the rise?
I still think it's a team on the rise. They're a young team. They're a real young team with some young pieces. They need to add a few pieces. They need to, keep their free agents. And I think Otto Porter maybe is a free agent this year. They might need to extend him and keep him around because, he's a serviceable player. He put in some good work for that team throughout the course of the year. They need to maybe one piece short. John Wall and Brandy Beal, those guys gave all they could in playoffs. If they had one more guy who could have gave them maybe 15, 16 points, I think that could have been a turning difference for them going against Boston. I think they need to keep everything they have together, maybe try to seek out somebody in free agency. I don't know who they can get, but maybe try to seek out somebody in free agency, another veteran who can maybe put some buckets up for them to give those other two All-Stars a break. They need that. But right now, they are not at their wall. They're young where they can always get better.
So how do they get that guy, Mark? Because we talked before he came on, their cap space is a little tight. You say free agency. They won't have a great draft position. And I guess my question is then, are they actually a great free agent, or are they a free agent destination? Do free agents want to go to Washington?
I think free agents will want to go to Washington to play on Wall and Beal. It's just, you're going to see what free agent. And it's not necessarily about the best, because right now with the new CBA and the way that's structured, it's going to be hard to get a franchise player to leave his organization unless he wants to say, a.k.a. Paul George, go home to Los Angeles or something like that. But other than that, it's going to be hard to get the superstar caliber player to want to leave his current team, to leave all that excess money on the table just to change uniforms. But I think that middle line free agent, I think they can they don't need a shooting guard, but just a J.J. Redick. Somebody willing to overpay somebody to come contribute to their team, they can get those kind of free agents. So you got Washington's kind of tight, but they can make some moves. And yes, a mid-class free agent would love to go and be a major contributor for the Washington Wizards, playing along with Wall and Beal.
Marc Jackson's with us, former NBA player. Of course, Sixers pre- and post-game live. You can see him on Comcast Sportsnet. Look, I like Washington's core and everything, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. The problem becomes, you look around the league, Mark. You look at the four teams that are left. You got San Antonio with Kawhi. You got Golden State with Durant, and you've got Cleveland with LeBron. It seems that everybody else is lacking what they have. The player that can win because he is the best. I mean, I look at three players in the league as elite superstars. Those three guys. And if you don't have one of those, no matter what way you're trying to build your team, seems like there's a ceiling for you in today's NBA.
I agree. But so let's just say something like this. So would you say I'm the only guy? So if you don't have those guys,
yeah,
then what do? Do you just pack up and tell your franchise? No, you got to try.
Yeah, you got to try, but that's why. Look,
Kawhi
that is the basis.
Leonard
isn't that the basis?
Player. Sorry about that.
No, isn't that the basis of the Sixers basically doing an about face and saying, look, we've got to figure out a way to get LeBron or Durant or Kawhi or Duncan or one of that caliber players, Kobe. That's why we got to keep drafting in the lottery. I mean, we've got to find the superstar. Otherwise, we're going to be just like everybody else, spinning our wheels, and we'll have a nice season that might just end in the Eastern Conference Finals, but we want to be more than that.
Here's the catch.
Yeah.
Every time you go to an NBA game and you see all of those guys sitting in suits behind the bench, the player development guys, that's why those guys are so important. Kawhi Leonard was nothing like he is now his first 2 or 3 years in the league. Nothing. They developed Kawhi Leonard. You can develop players. It's not always about buying top-notch stuff, which means going out and getting a free agent. But the guys you pay those salaries and those suits that's behind the bench during the game, they can work and develop these guys. The NBA is getting younger and younger. You can't give up on young guys so quick. It's going to be hard, like we said, it's going to be hard to get the Kevin Durant, the LeBron James, the Kawhi Leonard to leave their teams. Well, Kevin Durant, that's another story. But it's going to be hard to get those guys to leave. But you have to take what you have, give them the resources to see and develop that superstar player. And I look at Kawhi Leonard. He is that player that that was developed. They drafted him. They seen something in him, basketball IQ, athleticism. He had the measurables. Then they went and put game in him to make him a superstar. So right now, the way the CBA is, you're not going to get those franchise guys unless his name is Kevin Durant, the leader ball club. You got to develop them, and that's where player development comes in. So Washington got to hope that they hire the right player development guys to go in there and work these guys and get these guys improving. And not just that, but you got to make sure you hire big character guy kids that will accept learning and to come in there humble and ready to get better. A lot of these kids come in thinking they know a lot, respectfully don't know nothing. But they've been told that they're great since they were 10 years old in AAU, so they come in with their own mindset, and it's hard to change them unless you have the mental of a Kawhi Leonard.
Now, that is a answer that you would not get someplace else. Like, who would come up with that answer to know that that's what – now, we all understand. We hear player development, and one of the reasons Brett Brown was an attractive hire to the Sixers when they hired him, right, Mark, was he was a player development guy with the Spurs, and you're seeing the Robert Covingtons and the T.J. McConnells and the Rashawn Holmes, who I know you like a lot, even Dario from where he started to where he is. That is something that Brett has been really credited for, and you just kind of highlighted how important that role really is.
It is. It's the most underrated. People give all these head coaches all the props and the credit. They're such a great coach, X's and O's. You're only as good as your talent, people. Let's just be honest. You only can go as far as your talent would take you. X's and O's can get you a win when maybe a win might not have been likely. But if you have certain players that you can build around, then that can get you more wins than the X's and O's can, respectfully. So let's do it like this. We give all the head coaches, they're great coach. We give the superstars, he's a great player. But you got to feed that middle ground. You got to feed that middle beast. You got to. You must develop those guys. And that's why that position now, more than ever, that the league is not just getting younger, but with the new CBA, it's hard to get those major guys to lead a team. So you got to look within. You got to look within to what you have and say, hey, we have Dario. We got to make Dario this. We have Joel Embiid. We have to work on Joel's low post. He's 7'2", 280, 275 pounds. He's on the perimeter 65 to 70% of the time. Let's work on his low post stuff, because not just because of his size and stature, but let's also get him in the low post more, get him working his low post game so he's so confident when the game's online to go to the low post instead of for a pick and pop. They're going to low post and not just score and give us what we need, they'll also save his legs and help give us more years out of him. Then let's look at Robert Covington, who has come so far this year as a defensive player. He came with a great mindset. I need to develop my defense and prove that I'm always been labeled as a shooter. I need to develop on the other end. And he has been a very effective defender, not shut down, but he's been an outstanding defender on the other end, who's also developed on the offensive end too. He was streaky like most guys are, but he was consistent on the defensive end. So those guys, those player development guys, are very valuable now more so ever.
A nice conversation with Marc Jackson about whether it's the X's and the O's or the Jimmies and the Joes. Marc, I got to get your opinion on the play in Golden State the other night. Was that a dirty play or a good basketball play?
I'm kind of torn here, to be honest, because when I heard Pop, and everybody know I'm a big Pop guy, so when I heard Pop kind of rip into Zaza, I was kind of like, ooh, Pop, that's unlike you. But then after I went back and I watched it, yes, the first thing people say, oh, he wasn't even looking. He turned his head to look at the rim. Listen, I grew up in the inner city, in the streets, in the schoolyard of North Philadelphia. I know some guys that could do the same thing, act like they're looking at the rim, that purposely put their feet under you so you could turn your ankle in a schoolyard pickup game. So in the Western Conference Finals, would Zaza do that? I don't know Zaza personally. I will hope that he wouldn't stoop to that low to try to hurt Kawhi Leonard, to give his team a better chance of winning. But I've purposely seen it done. I have never did it personally to anybody. Have I had it done to me? Yes, I have. More than one occasion. So I've known people that have done it. I've been a part of it where it happened to me. So, but when Pop started running off Zaza's history and his background, I'm like, ooh, maybe Pop has an idea. I was thinking it was an accident, but when Pop started running off that, I was thinking like, oh, maybe he has a point there. So then I started second guessing it. I will hope he didn't do it on purpose. That's my take. I don't think, and I hope that Zaza Pachulia wouldn't do it on purpose. But here it is. When Pop mentioned, ask his own teammate David West, about how dirty he is.
Ooh.
I was like, ooh, Pop pushing buttons now.
He put him in I thought the same thing. I said, man, he put West in a pretty bad spot there. Hey, go in his locker room and ask his teammate how dirty he is. I mean, that was kind of Pop. He was sending some lowbrows over there. But now that Kawhi might not play tonight, he probably not going to play. But, hey, you expect Golden State probably to win 2 at home. How do you see Spurs-Warriors after what we know in Game 1?
After game, we're watching the collapse of the Spurs after their best player Kawhi Leonard goes out. It was shocking to me because if any coach I figured could make something out of nothing, respectfully, with his star playing going out, I think Pop can do that. I think Aldridge settled for getting pushed off the low post and shoot a lot of fadeaway jump shot, which was not a good look. I'm quite sure that was addressed in shoot around today or practice today. But if Kawhi Leonard does not come back and play Game 3, I think it's sweep for the Warriors. And I would hate to say that against Pop, but if Kawhi Leonard doesn't come back at 70 to 80% in Game 3, then I think Golden State will not lose the game against the Spurs, unfortunately, because I think Marcus Aldridge is not giving them what they need.
Marc Jackson's with us. Tonight is the NBA Draft Lottery. We know the team that you're closely associated with here in Philly, the 76ers. Tonight's a big night for them. So are you in the camp that says you'd like to get the number 1 overall pick, or are you someone that would take 2 picks, like, somewhere in that 2-5 range? How do you feel about the Sixers tonight?
I would like to get the number 1 pick because I think if I'm the 76ers,
who's your guy there?
I'm torn. I mean, I like folks, but I'm a big ball fan. I'm a huge ball fan. I think, it's the 76ers are an up-tempo pace team. They like to run, get the ball, get out and break. Ben Simmons is by far, other than, I would say, LeBron James, the get it and go type of guy, can get off the rim and can start and be from one end to the other on a fast break. Probably Ben Simmons, John Wall, LeBron James. But I think Ball is just tremendous. I think he sees the floor so well. And I think when teams start doubling on Joel Embiid, or when Ben is driving, getting to him and forcing help side D, I think Ball's a better knockdown shooter than folks. I think he is. And so me, I think it's a folk. I think it's a Ball for me. If I get the number 1 pick for the 76ers, I'm drafting Ball from UCLA.
Wow. So obviously, that will cause a lot of controversy with his pops there. But how do NBA teams handle that? He can't be the only dad who's kind of been a problem. I mean, there's got to be players that you've played with or know around the league whose parents, but I guess we look at as a professional sports team that the parent is no longer involved. But these kids are so young now entering the league, there's got to be situations that never get out of some parents just being totally out of line.
Let's put it this way, and this is something I like to say when people want to talk about parents for NBA players. There's no bigger pain in the butt parents than NBA agents. So let's establish that. Some of these agents act like NBA mom and dads because they got to, so they're bugging the general manager, the coach, more than the actual parent is. So the NBA franchises are used to maybe, getting an involved person. But I think as Ball's father will try to step his foot in that door, I think that door just shut his face real quick. If he tries to do anything like he's done at Chino Hills or like he said, people said he's done at Chino Hills, getting a coach fired, you don't got to worry about that in the NBA. This is a league of men. No boys allowed. This is men. Ball's father can come, be in that fan room, and sit in the stands and do those interviews from outside the court, but it will not affect the 76ers or any team that drafted him one bit because they drafted a player. They're not worried about his dad. This is not daycare.
All right. I hope you're right about that because this guy seems like he is a little out there. But, hey, hopefully the kid can play. Lonzo Ball you like better than Fultz. We'll see all the process and how it breaks down. The ping pong balls will bounce tonight. And you can hear it all here on 97.3 ESPN. He's Marc Jackson, and great insight from a former player on how some things go in the league. And, of course, game number 2 tonight of the Western Conference Finals. Marc, we'll catch up soon, pal.
Thank you, guys. Good talking to you.